Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rock and Roll podcast. Check out this record. Now, if you like internet games, just like us, just add a Y or an IE to your name for this episode, because tonight we're all Ramones. My name is because of the way I spell it, my name is Marcy Ramone, and joining me is my kind of guy, Mr. Frankie Ramone.
Hey, Marky, Marcy, and hello, listeners.
Did you know that in addition to where you listen to us now, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music, or really wherever you like to sniff glue?
That's right, Mark. New episodes bop on down to Rockaway Beach, which I've been to, every Friday for your listening pleasure.
Now, if this is your first taste of shock treatment, this is the podcast where Frankie Ramone and I, Marcy Ramone, recommend albums to each other to check out and review. We also have a wide variety of musical discussions, like our Spotlight series, where we'll dig into a band's catalog and see what comes out of the Pet Cemetery.
We're in our Versus series. We're going to pit 2, sometimes 3 albums against each other. Guess what, Mark? They're going to get out this little thing that we call total stereo domination.
All right. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and our Facebook group. We like to drop additional content. I hope you're leaving more of Frank's musical goodness and my random nonsense. It's mostly just memes. Now, if you got a record you want us to check out, and we sure hope that you do, just drop us a line wherever you find the show in a comment, and we'll give it a spin, and who knows, it might even end up on this very show. Isn't that right, Frank?
Absolutely, as long as it's not Coldplay or anything like that. Absolutely.
Well played. Would you look at that? We're already having fun together. Be sure to like, subscribe, and add snarky comments to our page, or the KKK will take your baby away. Frankie Ramone, you ready to boogie down in the subterranean jungle?
Oh, Marcy Ramone, you know I am. You picked a record from the dead center of the Ramones catalog. Mm-hmm. And what do we need to know about our boys from Queens, Mark, as we turn the stereo way up? And why'd you pick this one? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, great question, Frankie Ramone. I'm happy you asked. 1982, 1983 was an interesting time for the Ramones, right? Joey and Marky were battling with alcoholism. Dee Dee was still famously battling cocaine addictions, along with many other addictions, as well as undergoing psychiatric treatment. And Johnny was dealing with the other 3 idiots, which I'm sure was more than enough for anyone to have to deal with. Now, Marky Ramone would be fired during the recording process, saying he was watching an episode of Kojak when Joey called him, that Joey Ramone, of course. Joe called him up, and he was bummed about having to give Marky the news, but Marky was too embarrassed to tell Joey that he was trying to check into rehab anyways, and he would end up leaving the band until 1989's Brain Drain. Ooh. Now, Joey and Dee Dee, with the exception of the 3 covers on this album, wrote all the songs. Johnny did contribute, but is said mostly to have restricted what the band could put out musically, wanting to satisfy the hardcore fans of the band with a hardcore sound. Look, find interviews from Johnny about this album. He says hardcore like 900 times.
He does.
It's like he's writing a Foo Fighters record or something. Anyways, saying he wanted to remind people that they could play faster than anyone else. A really interesting note, considering the direction this album took, but perhaps that pressure from Johnny forcing a heavier guitar tone on the record is what makes these songs so damn cool, or at least to me. Because this album, to answer your second question, FR, has a great pop sensibility to it while directly carrying that Ramones signature sound. Now, there is one thing, I forgot to add it into the notes here, but I want to point out, if you've seen the cover of this record, it's the Ramones on a subway train, some graffiti on the train, the title across the top. You actually see Johnny, Joey, and Dee Dee hanging out through the open doors, and then through the window on the far side is Marky. Now, what Marky didn't know, Frank, was that Johnny told the photographer to take that picture because he knew they were firing Marky, but they didn't want to tell him. And Marky was like, It seemed weird, but it also kind of made a cool picture, so I didn't say anything about it.
Just ironic. He just happened to be over there while these guys were over here.
Mhm.
Oh man. Well, before we get into this album, Marcy Ramone, why don't we talk about actually how we got into the Ramones and what we think about their legacy these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like most people, I'm going to say our age, Frank, the Ramones were a fixture in the punk rock community well before we had any idea of what that sentence could possibly mean. That said, as I came of age and was trying to start to explore the genre of punk rock, this weird thing kept happening with Ramones. You could only really find them albums from the 70s and maybe end of the century, which came out in 1980. I'm sure people will tell me that they recorded in the 70s, go suck a dick. Anyways, or you'd find a greatest hits comp. So that's kind of where I started, right? Ramones Mania, Toughest Hits, and the like. You'd get all the singles and the occasional deep track, but you'd never get that feel for the band. And I think for anyone who wasn't actively following them before 1994, when they broke up, you had little to no access to the band's full catalog, let alone the gems like this one, where the band is fighting to keep it together and ends up putting out a much cooler album that has a retro feel, even for when it was released, and a better understanding of what the band really made their name on and their songs. It's more than just getting stoned, huffing glue, and mental health. If you think that's all the band is, then you're really missing out on a real depth for the band and really an appreciation that they had for the art that is rock and roll, and they really put it in this. What about you, Frank? How would you describe your experience and the impact of a band like the Ramones?
Yeah, so as much as I don't like him, I hate to say this, but the actor Jared Leto was my introduction to the Ramones. So it's the '90s, and that show, My So-Called Life, was like all the rage. And there was
Mhm.
an episode where whatever crap band Leto was in performed the song "I Want to Be Sedated." So all of a sudden, like the kids around school they just started singing it constantly, and the impressionable younger me wanted, of course, to discover more. Now it was going to take a little bit while longer because I was really into that '90s West Coast punk stuff before really the Ramones received my full attention, as I was preoccupied with those Epitaph and Fat Bands and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
96, 97 for me is when I did the deep diving. And to me, they will always be the first punk band by definition of being amped up, fast, pure rock and roll, which is what they took from it. They took those simple songs from the 60s, they added some Beach Boy vibes, and with that signature downstroke guitar from Johnny, created something unique. My appreciation for them has only intensified throughout the years, as I think they're one of those bands that honestly, like, we were blessed to have in our lifetime. Even though they were kind of at the tail end for us there. But yeah, I think we were so lucky to have them.
Yeah, right on. Well, without further ado, let's jump into the remote. Without further ado, let's jump into the record. It's the Ramones, Subterranean Jungle, track one, Frank. Little bit of soul.
Hmm.
One of the major criticisms people had about the album was the three covers, opening with a cover. This one in particular, A Little Bit of Soul, was originally written in 1964 by John Carter and Ken Lewis. I know you're very familiar with them.
My neighbors,
and,
actually.
yeah, and originally recorded by the English band The Little Darlings. And 1967 would have success in the US when the garage band The Music Explosion released their cover of it, reaching #1 on Record World 100 and #2 on the Billboard Top 100. What did you think of the Ramones' take on such a 60s classic?
Yeah, I mean, this is in essence the basis of the band, right? It's these '60s rock songs, the simple '60s rock songs, but in like the Ramones signature style. I mean, on this, the critics could totally eat my boxers, as it doesn't matter that a band at this point in their tenure chose this for the opening number. They started out at a time when cover tunes were more frequent on a band's album. So as far as this being an opener, love it.
Very nice. And as we just learned here live on the internet, ladies and gentlemen, Frank is a boxers guy, not a brief. Make a note, Frank. My internet connection is unstable.
Yes, noted. And the boxers are noted.
So thank you. Track two, I Need Your Love. very unconventional placement of the album's second of three covers by putting it here in the #2 spot, Frank. Originally written and performed by Bobby D. Waxman and his band, also from New York, the Poppies. The song throws back to Bobby's love to the Beatles, and the Ramones absolutely capitalize on the sound and styles of it, driving it faster and faster, as the Ramones, of course, were known for doing, but keeping it soulful and fun. What'd you think of this one?
Do you want me to pause it real quick so you could do the internet stuff?
I mean, I could try, but really, if it's gonna crash, it's gonna crash.
I'm cool with it if you are.
Yeah, let's just keep going until it does, and then we'll try to figure out where we were.
All right, all good. So yeah, listen, it's totally unconventional to put another cover here, but it makes a great conversational piece because, like Mark, we're talking about it, right? And perhaps there was intent here. For me, I think Johnny does some great guitar work here, and the chanting of "I Need Your Love," just great. It's clean. It's a clean sounding cover. So cover schmover as far as people wanting to critique it. The song rocks. Really like it.
Very cool, very cool. Track 3 is track 3, Outsider. Dee Dee wrote this classic Ramones sounding anthem. It was definitely on many of their greatest hits comps, and for good reason. It captures that classic hardcore sound again. And the album begins to really take shape and balance between those two very pop laden tracks to open it up. What'd you think of this guy?
Yeah, this was a track that I was most familiar with, probably from the hits or the Mania CDs. The difference between honestly this track and the first few records is not much here. I mean, it's a great blend of the hardcore edge, the pop sensibility. It's without a doubt a middle catalog classic for the band. So I mean, it's a fantastic track.
Yeah, excellent. Track 4, What Do You Do? Joey Ramone took the lead on this number, but let me ask you this: a breakup song by any other name is still a breakup song, right? On the surface, this is a simple song about losing faith in another, but manages to capture the band's ability to show their very human emotion and regret their loss, all disguised as kind of a chainsaw pop song.
I love the chainsaw's a great way to put this, Marcy Ramone, because that's what it feels like. It keeps running, and Joey's golden and smooth voice here, man, is one that only few could really pull off a vocal performance like this. It's an underrated gem for me, and we're only at track 4.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the underrated crooners, as far as crooning goes.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with you, man.
Track 5, Highest Trails Above. So Dee Dee penned this number, and while I don't think, I don't like to talk about other people's reviews here typically, this was referred to as a song they wrote to get on the radio. I don't get that feeling at all, but you know what? It was the early 80s, and I assume even the critics were just heavily on cocaine. Perhaps a song about being a bird isn't that appealing to everyone, and it might be kind of a low light on the album for me, Frank, but it's dabbling in a little bit of fantasy and escapism, and it's kind of cool to see, for me to see a band do that, and the track really works well. What do you think, Frank? Just a cheap attempt at radio play, or is there more here?
And it's so funny on people and the critics, and sometimes because like hearing that, I don't get that at all. I mean, when you hear the opening chords and the way this actually comes off as more aggressive as opposed to some of their other songs, I can't see where this would be honed in as the one for the radio. In fact, the cover tunes to me from this seem like potential candidates. So I'd say it's probably my least favorite thus far, but the other tracks have just been so good. So I didn't get what the critics were saying with this one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, me neither. But moving right along, track 6, Somebody Like Me. I'm really intrigued by this track from Dee Dee. He famously fought addiction, not just while in the band, but his whole life. And here we have a bouncing number that explores his wants and desires. He just wants to have a bit of fun. And can you blame him? I can't. Some people don't want more than a good time in life, and I'm cool with that. How about you, Frank?
I'm cool with this too, man. Like we get a similar vibe here, the Blitzkrieg Bop, and like that song, it has a catchy as hell chorus, Johnny gives us a brief solo, which hopefully silences some of the critics and where they say that he just plays chords. The music mimics the fun here and that desire. It's a fun tune. It's a great tune. Somebody like me, good stuff.
Absolutely. Track 7, Psychotherapy. We're on the B side here of the LP, co-written by Dee Dee and Johnny. It's easily recognized as one of the band's most popular tunes. Dee Dee recalls, quote, "I knew we needed a real, quote unquote, Ramones song for the album. I knew Johnny was depressed about how things were going. He needed that song to get excited about the band again." While Johnny stated, "I wanted to do a hardcore song to show people that we can play as fast and faster than they can. Nobody plays as fast as us, Frankie Ramone."
And I love that Johnny said that, by the way. When I think of where punk got its speed from in the early years, it's the Ramones. I love the Clash, Mark. I know you do too. They didn't have that speed, and screw the Pistols. So punk was faster in the U.S., and it was only about to get faster. Ramones are making a statement here, and I love it.
Very nice, very nice. Track 8, Time Has Come Today. Here we get the third and final cover of the album, this time from the Chamber Brothers, but with a bit of a psychedelic twist, if you will. What's really wild here is that this is the only Ramone song with 3 different drummers credited to it. So you get Marky Ramone credited on the album, and then we get Billy Rogers, who actually played it on the record, and then Richie Ramone, who'd come in on the next album, is seen playing the drums here in the video, which, by the way, failed to chart. So this was released as a single, Frank, but didn't make any impact. I don't know how. I really dig it. What do you think of this psychedelic twist on Time Has Come Today, Frankie?
Yeah, this shows that they're not just a one-trick pony here. A niche style, punk band like this that takes a psychedelic sound and making it their own is pretty cool. I can't say I'm a fan of the original. So to me, the Ramones made the song a lot better.
Very nice, very nice. We're not afraid to take a shot at the classics, folks. Track number 9, My Kind of Girl. Joey wrote this number for the band's female fandom after meeting a fan on 8th Street in Manhattan and wanting to spend his life with her. What do you think? Is it a retro pop classic? I'm going to say that again. A retro pop classic or a creepy number about teenage fans?
I mean, I'm hoping when we say teen, of course it's 18 and up, but it's not something a la Jerry Lee Lewis here. Anyway, I think it's a cool retro jangly pop tune layered with that signature Ramone style. And being from New York, I've been on 8th Street a few times, and we get some cool imagery here, so I could just see it. So I like the song again.
Ramones love to paint beautiful pictures of New York, don't they?
I sure do.
Track number 10, In the Park. Dee Dee gives us another 60s rock number about hanging out with the gang after dark, reminiscing about his teen youth, or perhaps he was still living a good part of it, thanks to his addictions. It's a short and simple number that makes me smile. It rates pretty low on the album for me, though. What did you think?
Yeah, it has the 60s style, as you said. The guitars, sonically seem very fuzzy for my liking, and it's like that. It's at that perfect like fiddler position point in the album where you're getting towards the end. So yeah, I'm with you in regards to low side of the album for me, but it's here and gone before you know it because it's so short.
Yep. Well, we're at track 11, Time Bomb. We have a first for the Ramones here, Frank. This is the first track where someone other than Joey sings the lead vocal on the entire song on a Ramones record. So Dee Dee penned this one and sang it, while many critics said, quote, "It was more ridiculous than frightening." End quote. We get this essentially, we get what is essentially the punk rock Time Bomb song formula here that a few bands had already used, and many more would imitate circa Rancid, go on and on and on. Love it or loathe it, it's Dee Dee delivers on the cliche, and the band sounds great. Frank?
Yeah, listen, I know Dee Dee is such a pivotal member of the band, but Joey's a singer for a reason. It's it's not as ridiculous as the critics are making it out to be. I think the band does sound great here. I would have liked maybe to have Joey sing a verse and maybe Joey and Dee Dee switching off here. But it's a fun track. It is a fun track.
All right. So we're at the end of the record here. Track 12. This is actually a true thing about me and Frank. Every time I eat vegetables, it makes me think of you, is the name of the track. Joey gives us the album finale as only he can, with a tribute to a friend that he thinks of every time he eats vegetables. It's a simple number that will leave you with a smile on your face. What do you eat that reminds you of me, good buddy?
Let's see, potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely succotash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a piece of rye bread,
Oh,
pretzel hot dog buns. I mean,
ooh, absolutely. Every time.
fresh mozzarella.
Mm-hmm.
And how could I leave out rack of lamb?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple song, brings a smile to my face. And listen, perfect for a closer from this record, man.
Yeah. If you're familiar with Joey's solo album,
Oh yeah, totally.
which closed with Maria Antebella. Maria
Sounds about right.
Antebella. It kind of has that feel to it, and like it felt very familiar, even though that album came out much later than this did. Anyways, well, Frank, that does it for Subterranean Jungle.
Wow.
Time for our final thoughts. What'd you think?
Yeah. So okay, we were discussing how everyone really just relates Ramones to like their first four records, and
Mhm.
even more, it's like it's a weird dynamic because even more than the casual fans, like you could tell they're like legit Ramone fans, but they think all the goodness lies there. And I think we're here to tell them that they're wrong. You know,
Mhm.
end of the century, in my opinion, started a new style for the band, one filled with the formula that worked, but also a more expansive sound, more layers, harmonies, and more depth. This album, it's awesome. I mean, sure, listen, you can have what the critics say. Who cares? They got three covers on it. Who cares? I mean, these songs still rock. Sure, some maybe were subpar as far as the rest of the context of the album, but you can't take that away from the album as a whole. You get that blend of the simple '60s tunes and the punk sound that they created. It's hard for me to say where this ranks in all their albums. I would think I need a little bit more time, maybe to kind of space that out.
Mhm.
But it's definitely a solid 8 out of 10 for me. What about you, man?
Nice. Yeah. Despite the troubles and infighting among the members of the band, you can really feel that the turmoil, I'm just making up words now, challenge them each to put their best work forward. And we get a really fun and unique album from the band. One that pushes both that 60s influence and that hardcore sound. Joey again, or excuse me, Johnny again, would just beat his head talking about how great the guitar sounds on this record and how hardcore he wanted it to be.
Oh,
Um,
hardcore, hey.
yeah, hardcore. I look, for me, I adore this record. It gets an 8.5 out of 10 out of me.
Hey, it's great.
You know, I just love it. There's something really just kind of happy about this record, which sounds weird when you learn how fucked up the making of it was, but whatever. Now, last week, I made the comment that I think this will take over the top spot as your favorite Ramones album. How'd I do?
Wow. I mean, you did great. You did great. Again, I think I'm gonna need a little bit more time to see if this is the top Ramones one.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna tell you that it's definitely up there, and we may need to revisit this maybe after a while. Then we come back and maybe throw a couple more Ramones records into the mix and see what we get.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And Mark, with all the talk about the influence of the '60s, let's put a little '60s rock ballads list together. What do you say?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, start us off, my man.
Absolutely. So for me, we're gonna do a top 10 list here. I'll take half, Frank will take half. Um, Go ahead and make yourself a playlist out of this. You'll be smooching with the ladies before time is over. And I want you to begin with Roy Orbison, Oh Pretty Woman.
Oh, beautiful,
Hmm.
beautiful tune. And I'm gonna half steal stuff from you.
Yeah, go
So
for it.
I also have a Roy Orbison song, but it's "Running Scared." Uh,
Ooh, great number.
One of the best vocal performances. And if you watch that performance he had, I want to say it's called the Black and White Special because it was in black and white. And you had Keith Richards, you had Springsteen, Derek Costello, all those people. The performance of the song, I mean, the vocals are just they'll shatter glass. That's how
Gorgeous.
awesome they are.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to put another Orbison tune on here, but
no, hey, look, we're doing this one for the ladies. They get 2 Roys. They get 2 Roys. They're happy with it. You know what I mean?
What we got next, Mark?
How cool would Roy Orbison have been as a Ramone?
Oh,
Roy Ramone, dude. Oh my God, the records they would have made. Anyways, number 8 on your playlist. We're working from 10 backwards here. The Marvelettes, Danger, Heartbreak, Dead Ahead.
That's great.
Yeah, just an old Motown classic. I grew up absolutely addicted to the movie Good Morning Vietnam. It made me want to be on the radio, flunk out of going to radio, and then doing this with you. But it's one of those great songs that was on the soundtrack. It absolutely stuck with my heart. Danger, heartbreak, dead ahead. You know, and they helped start really the Motown movement in the early 60s. I think this song happens to be from like 65. If you haven't checked out the Marvelettes and you just like that Motown kind of rocky, kind of ballady, bluesy, like, Heartbreak, Danger, Heartbreak, Dead Ahead. Hell yeah.
Fantastic. My next one, it's from the early 60s, I think 60 to be exactly correct, but Kathy's Clown from the Everly Brothers. You know, it's another one. You had, of course, Bye Bye Love and, you know, Wake Up Little Susie, but this song, for still kind of having that like tinny early kind of rock sound, is really, really impactful. And I think there's some layers to it. And, you know, a lot of people kind of reference it in songs. Elliott Smith is one of them, which, you know, he mentions the song Kathy's Clown. I even have a lyric in one of my songs where I mentioned Kathy's Clown. That was never recorded and no one will ever hear it. But anyway, just a really, really good number. And yeah, Kathy's Clown.
I'm looking at the whole list, folks. That might be my absolute favorite on this whole thing. The next one for me, though, is going to be a gentleman by the name of Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders. It's the Game of Love. This is just another one of those great 60s. It's the Game of Love. It's just such a fun little bouncy tune about heartbreak. I adore it.
Yeah. I mean, just another really good tune. Really good tune. Next, I have, it's kind of an obvious choice, but I mean, The Sound of Silence from Simon and Garfunkel.
Sure.
I mean, listen to harmonies that they were able to really nail down for like 2 people. I mean, basically at the end of the day, I mean, it was really Paul Simon on guitar and just old Art Garfunkel singing. I mean, the song, it really, don't listen to it too much at night. So, you know, it might mess with you, but Sound of Silence.
Have you ever made out to The Sound of Silence? The song, The Sound of Silence, not just made out in the quiet?
No, I haven't. What about you, pal?
I'm not going to answer that question. That's a really private question to ask somebody, Frank. But what I'd like for you to do is put it on tonight and don't say anything to Jen. Just get into bed and see what happens. Text me. We don't have to talk about it on air unless you want to. Anyways.
All right.
I'll think about it.
Bing bong chong.
Yeah, in 9 months you can blame me for this one. Number 4 on our list is the Zombies. She's Not There.
So good. So good.
This isn't the Cranberries doing the song Zombies.
She's Not There.
The Zombies doing a song called Cranberries. She's Not There. Wait, no, that's not right. She's Not There by the Zombies.
Fantastic tune. Fantastic. One I have, and you know, another song where, you know, it's hard to say is really a ballad because, you know, the guy was so amazing and innovative with rock and roll and the guitar, but the Hendrix song Little Wing.
Beautiful song.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a gorgeous song, and I think that's his like true ballad right there. So Little Wing.
Very nice, very nice. Well, my last selection for this playlist are our top 10 60s rock ballads, whatever this is from Question Mark and the Mysterions. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. 96 Teardrops.
Nice.
96 Teardrops. I don't know what it is about this song. It's kind of abstract, kind of sad, kind of beautiful. The dude's name is fucking Question Mark. And the Mysterions. I mean, that's so cool. Yeah. But that leaves you with the number 1 choice, my friend. What's the final track on our playlist here?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a dramatic song, but it's also Paul McCartney's favorite song. It's God Only Knows from the Beach Boys,
Ooh.
from Pet Sounds. I mean, you could just YouTube uh, Paul McCartney and God Only Knows, even do Sir George Martin, and how much they rave about this song and how much they like it. And like I said, it's a little dramatic, but it fits the ballad to me. So God Only Knows by the Beach Boys.
Yeah, now that I've made out to, and I got to tell you,
You scallywag! Now you try to ask me what song
I
I make
can
out to
I can slide a tongue around to that one, brother. Anyways,
Dang, Marcy Ramone, that was one heck of an episode. And I know you want to be sedated, but before I
mhm.
let you do that,
Oh,
I'm going to
sure.
talk to you about next week's episode if you're cool with that.
Well, Frank Kermode, since this was my pick, what do you have for me and our dear listener, Ramon, for next week?
Mark, we're going to get folky. Okay.
Oh,
I have a running list of bands since we started this whole project that I wanted your
mhm.
opinions on. So I'm going with the band, the Felice Brothers,
Is
and
this the
their
Navidad guys?
the Felice Navidad Brothers, the Felice Brothers from upstate New York, and their
Hmm.
2016 album "Life in the Dark." Okay, what to expect? It's very Dylan. So you're gonna have a
Mm.
lot of jam-packed lyrics, a lot of imagery, although more
Mm.
violins and more of a full sound. But I am very anxious. This is one of the albums for a while I've been anxious to hear your particular thoughts on. So I'm excited, and only 9 tracks, so it's very digestible. And
Mhm.
Life in the Dark from 2016 from the Felice Brothers.
Now, I want to point out to our listeners, Frank and I share the script. We're not very shy about that. We left off next week's pick. I just learned it when you learned it just now. I wrote the next line regardless. Here it is, Frank. You ready?
Ready?
Hot dog!
What a Frankfurter that is, my man. I tell you what, that I love a good Frankfurter.
We do love our wieners here, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Everyone,
Mhm.
thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, comment, and be safe out there.
Bye-bye. Hey,
Um,
ho, let's
let's
go.
go. Hey, oh,
I
the
should have picked a
cemetery.
song from this album.